This is going to be a cleaning for the end of the day, or when your paint's real dirty, or I'm sorry, your gun's real dirty and you want to get it all clean, which this one's got paint all back here and stuff. So let's, for what, the third time I'm telling you that? See how it is? Okay, I'm going to take the needle out first, because the needle you will get poked with. If you're going to airbrush, you're going to get poked with the needle at some point or whatever, because they're super sharp. And, okay, so we're taking that out. Just loosen the chuck nut here, and the needle just slides right out. And then I'm going to go for the needle crown here on the tip. That's one. And then we got the needle cap next. And there's another, on this particular model, there's another cap on here that uses a wrench to get off there. And then behind this, there is your needle tip. I forget what they call it. There's names for all these particular pieces and stuff. But that's everything that goes in the front of the housing. Okay, now what I'm going to do from here is I got a little cup. I put some paint thinner in there. Now some guns, wherever there's a seal, it'll just be like a rubber O-ring. You put them in thinner or any sort of solvent like that, and it's going to eat it up, and they're not going to work right after that. So Iwata puts Teflon seals on everything, so we're not going to have a problem with the solvent or whatever. It's got here this brass. There's a brass piece here, and then to the top of that is screwed on the needle tip here. But I'm just gonna, I left that factory sealed like that. I'm just gonna clean it as is like this. So I just drop them in some thinner, let them sit for a while. Everything's filthy, dirty. Let's just stick it in there. Close it up, because I'll spill that at some point, I'm sure. Okay, I'm gonna pull out the trigger, and then I'm gonna back out this whole housing here. Let me take this chuck nut off, because it's a chucking guide. Pull this out. Now, another cool thing about Iwatas and some other airbrushes, you can see, look at, there's paint everywhere back here, so it's a good idea that I clean this all out, is that this piece comes out with this lever on the end still attached, because some airbrushes will come where this piece is not attached, and so you got to push this whole rod in there, then you got to pull it back and try to fit this piece down in this hole. To make a long story short, it's tougher than it sounds. And then also get your trigger in there. It's a big nightmare. So what I'm going to do is, since that's got so much paint on it, and there's no like plastic or Teflon plastic pieces or anything, I'm throwing all this in the thinner just to wash off. Watch for these springs. They like to jump away from you too. Even put the trigger in there. I got a lot of parts in there. All right, we'll let those set up here. So now we're going to get to, and also there's a valve, the air valve down here, and you could take that apart and stuff, but seriously, unless you're having major problems, I just leave the valve on there. I don't ever mess with it. So let's get to cleaning this thing. First thing I like to do is get into the tip here, and they sell these little brushes, pipe cleaners or whatever, and they're okay. Like the one you need the most is the smallest one, and it's already, half of it's already gone. I don't know what happened here, but half of that's already gone, and I've only used it like 3 times. So, but I'm going to use it until it dies. They sell other things, like here's one that's all wire, and there's another like tip cleaner. I don't know, I got this, but I don't know about this. It's a sharp point on it, and they want you to stick it in your needle tip, so I don't know about that either. So we're just going to stick with the brush right now. And what I like to do is just take the tip here and go ahead and stick it into the thinner and rub back and forth there. Make sure you're getting everything. Like that. Then I like to have my bottle of wasted water open and just kind of clean it out like that. And then I'm going to take this and shoot it out the tip. I don't know if is that still on camera. I'm going to shoot it out the tip like this, shoot it all around. And then, because there's paint back here, I'm going to rinse this area out here real good too. Some people will just, take off the moisture trap here, but they'll stick it in thinner and let that just soak. Some people say it's not a good idea. I haven't done it, so I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to kind of clean it out like this. I'm sure we'll be all right. This is all water-based paint too, so it's, you know, it cleans up real easy. So yeah, basically clean it all up, make it look pretty. Get everything you need to do. Maybe down here with the needle out, you can kind of just go in there, get out all the paint. Probably, I know you can't see that or whatever, but it's kind of self-explanatory. You're just get the paint the hell out of there. Okay, so this part is pretty much clean. This down in here, there's, see, watch. You can see there's paint on the thing. There's definitely paint in there, and I don't like that at all. Squirting the heck out of it. You know, some people, you can also use a spray bottle if you don't have one of those. Just, you know, spray bottle just to spray things down. This works too. Like that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to leave that as is. Now I'm going to start grabbing some of the other stuff. And I got a big mess here. Okay. Basically, this piece, the whole rear end and trigger of the airbrush there, this back piece, basically just clean it up and get all the paint off of it. I'm not going to put you through that, so I'll pause now and come right back. Okay, I'm back. So we got all of our parts cleaned here. We can actually start putting this back on the gun here. But since we ran it through the thinner, that's going to strip everything off of it. And what you want to do is make sure you have good lubrication on this. This super lube right here comes with your Iwata, and I usually use that for the needle itself. And people suggest using that for all of your parts, but you can tell how tiny the bottle is, and you don't need much when you just use it on the needle. And so what I'm going to use on these parts is just some regular old, I've got here, I just bought this bottle, 3-in-1 oil, machine oil. This I found in a box, and I started using just some air tool oil. The object of this is to get your gun lubricated. So I shall do that by, okay, it's a new bottle. It's a new bottle. I haven't even used it. All right, let's stick this down here. I'm gonna stick this stuff on here. And you don't want to, you know, drench it or whatever, but you want to get oil on there. See, because what's going to happen is that you're going to have this spring. You have the spring over this, and then you're going to have this over this, like this. And this bounces back and forward to control the trigger. You know, you pull the trigger back and then it'll go forward again. So these parts are rubbing around, and you want to make sure that they're lubricated. So we'll do that just by dropping some oil on them. Just like that. That's good. You know, this is actually too much, but I'll put a drop or two in there like that. I'm gonna stick a drop on the bottom of the trigger here, and then just kind of touch the threads, you know, on whatever, because that's already got some on there. Okay, anyways, so pat it down a little bit. Stick it on there like that. Let's put it back together. 1 and 2 and a 3, like that. Do you see that there? I'll go through a video getting it all together. Maybe I already have. Okay, then we're going to take this needle chuck on the back here and screw that all the way down. We're going to have to unscrew it to get the needle on, but let's just go with that right now. So we got that all lubricated up. We can stick that right back onto the machine because the machine's all cleaned out and everything. So putting this back in, you want to make sure that this tab is leaning forward like that. You know, because it'll lean back like this. You don't want it leaning back. You want it leaning forward. So you're going to stick it right in here like this. Scoop it in there. Oh, I've already messed up. Okay, get that forward like that and slide it in, and then you'll see. Of course. One more time. Slide it in like that, and then you're going to see the tab come up right here. See the tab we just put in right there? And then you're going to screw it in from the back. Like that. All the way. This is the way that they tell you to do it. All the way down, screw it all the way in. All the way in till it stops, and then go off like a half a turn or a quarter turn. You can actually adjust how your trigger movement, the tension on your trigger movement, you can actually adjust by backing this off or tightening it up. So we got our tab down there. That's looking good. Got a little lubricant on the trigger. You put your trigger in, which is sometimes difficult. If I get into a bind, I'll just skip it and show you the one I got in there. You're going to pull this lever back, and then you're going to try to get this tab here down into the hole of the valve. Let me see how long it's going to take me to get. I get it? Oh, that was easy enough. There you go. Pull back. Everything's real smooth and feels real good. Everything's all cleaned up. So now comes the hard part. Here is the hard part. This thing is easy. Let me get this. Come on, baby. Get out of there. I don't like putting my fingers in thinner. Usually I have cuts all over my fingers. It hurts. Okay, these three aren't too bad. I'm just going to use a Q-tip, and I'm going to go around. This part usually doesn't get any paint on it, so it's pretty good as is. That doesn't need much of a thorough cleaning. Here, I'm going to clean the back of the other part, the tip right here. It's got some paint on it. Kind of swish that around, make sure all the paint's off of that. That's nice and clean up front. Yes, it is. All right, that's clean. And then your needle crown almost always has paint around the tip of it. You'll see now. You can see that, all that brown gunk. And it's easy enough to grab a Q-tip, swirl it around in there, like such, and presto, perfectly clean. Okay, now the hardest part is this tiny little piece here, the needle cap. There's different ways of doing this. If you get dental brushes, I think they call them. They're little tiny brushes, kind of like this, and you swirl them between your teeth, and it takes out all the crap between your teeth. But they're also good for getting in small places like this. This one's been used. As a matter of fact, they're right here. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to grab a brand new one. Like this. I use them multiple times. They seem to be okay like that. I'm just going to go ahead and get it in some thinner, and we'll stick it in there. It's nice and clean now. Let's see what happens when... yeah, look, it's already... You can see it's already dark. So, let's go. You can't get all the way to the tip on this. Ooh, look at that. That is nasty. And as a matter of fact, it's so nasty that I'm going to stick it back in the thinner and swirl it around a little bit just to see if I can get that off of there. Because once you hit it with water after the thinner, it seems to like stick. But I'm just going to do it like that. Just spray. Uh-oh, there we go. What did I tell you about that? I got lucky. It landed on my shorts. But it's a slippery rascal, and it's tiny. This one's not too bad because it's got the brass piece on the back. Now, for the hardest part, and this is the way that I saw a guy do on YouTube, because I watched all of them. And, you know, this is the way I like the best. If you have an old needle, if you don't have an old needle, because most people that are just starting out probably won't, just do your best to very carefully take your needle and just kind of get it in there a little bit, all the way in there, and then just kind of rotate it around very softly. Just rotate it around that cap just to see if you can loosen anything up like that. And then push it through the tip, pull it off the tip, pull off the paint off the tip like that. That'll probably be good enough. But what I like to do is, if you have an old needle, like this one, I took some sandpaper, real rough sandpaper, and I sanded the end of it. And you can pull off a little piece of your Q-tip. Like, I don't know if that's enough. I still haven't gotten the hang of this to do it 100%. But you can stick your needle into that, because it's roughed up, it's going to get tangled in on that needle. Put it in there like this, and then you can kind of get it in there, little piece of solution, and then go in there and try to get as much as you can off the off the tip up here. Sometimes you can get it to go all the way through. I don't want to mess with it. They're very, like I said, they're very delicate, so you don't want to mess with them. But in my book, that is clean enough. I think we're going to be okay. Maybe even just shoot some water through it, like that. And we are good to go. Now, putting it back together. This particular gun, like I said, has this brass piece in here, and that just floats around in there. And that's one of Iwata's trademark builds, I guess, to have that kind of floating in there. But before we do that, we can use some Teflon tape. You cut it real small and wrap it around, because you want to get a good seal on there. Your airbrush isn't going to work right. Get a good seal with the Teflon tape is okay. One way I saw somebody do it is you take some chapstick, and this might not, a lot of people might complain about doing it this way. Everyone's got their own method or whatever. This seems to be doing okay in my book. So I'm just going to rub it on the threads here. Rub it on the threads like that. I usually get it off of the, make sure it's off of the tip like this. And then I put in this here thing, like such. Balance it in there. And then you got to get this cap over it and onto the threads without screwing it up, which seems to be pretty good. Now this one also has a rubber O-ring on it, so it might be redundant to even be putting this stuff on there. Let me grab my wrench and then just give it a nice snug fit there, and that should be sealed. Now we got our other needle cap here that also is going to get a treatment of chapstick. Some people, you can also use a candle, a birthday candle. And I learned all this part right here on YouTube from a guy named Hangover Airbrush. Let's get that cap back on there, and then that'll seal that up. Yeah, Hangover Airbrush. I like that guy. Okay, so now we got both pieces sealed up. Here's the needle cap. You don't have to worry about sealing that up or anything, because you're going to take that on and off. So that's the whole front end. We got the whole innards taken care of. Now we're going to move on to the needle itself. That doesn't take a whole lot other than maybe just putting down some water and pulling your needle through it. Of course, you don't want to do this action right here, because bam, you're going to get it. Trust me. Trust me on that one, right? Okay, roll it around, swish, swish. And that thing is clean as a whistle. Now we're going to go on to this super lube here. We're going to give this a shot. And you need just a tiniest drop of the stuff. Like that. That's going to be enough for the whole needle right there. And the way I do that is just put it in there. Roll it around. I mean, you can feel that little drop just coats the whole thing. You can really feel it. Okay? And if you don't have this, you can use the machine oil. Same way. Just get it covered up. Now I'm going to get that off of my fingers. And then once again, I hold out my pinky and I kind of guide it in there like that. Guide it in there like that. I'm sorry. Maybe it's this finger I hold out. You get the idea. Okay, chuck nut is tightened down from earlier. Let's unloosen it. Get that in there. Now, one thing you got to remember is that if you're pushing this needle in and push it in very slowly and gently. And if you feel it stop on something, stop and pull it back, because something's in the way. And then go back in to see if you can clear it up. So this is obviously going in very, very easily here. And I've got it to the end. It stopped. And then right when it stops, you just tighten down your chuck nut and you're good. You're good to go. You can see that thing bouncing back and forth with the trigger. Like that. Then throw back on this particular model. I don't know what it is, but I have the hardest time trying to get this thing on there. Okay, good. That's good. Maybe one last once over with the thing, and bam, you are all done. Just like factory fresh, right there, completely paint free and ready to rock and roll. There it is. All right, guys. So that's how to clean out your airbrush. Very easy, and something you got to know when you're airbrushing. Usually doesn't take that long, but since we were making a video, I kind of slowed down a little bit. So it's not very hard to do. It doesn't take very much, so I suggest trying to do it as much as possible. Okay, thank you. See you guys next time. Take care. Boom.